I was not looking for anything. That is the part that gets me the most. I was just sitting there, scrolling through my phone on a slow Saturday night, beer in one hand, remote in the other, flipping through the same old updates from people who pretended their lives were perfect. Just another weekend, nothing special. Then it happened. A picture popped up on my feed. One of those random ones you see from an old friend of a friend, the kind of person you have not thought about in years. It was a dimly lit cafe, the kind with overpriced lattes and hand-painted murals on the walls. A place I knew all too well because my wife, Laura, had told me she did not like it anymore. Not my scene, she had said. Crowd's different now. And yet there she was, sitting in a corner booth, her auburn hair tucked behind her ear, wearing that green sweater she always called her lucky charm. But she was not alone. There was a man next to her, close. Too close. He was leaning in, hanging on to her every word, and she was smiling. No, laughing like she had not laughed in years. Like nothing else in the world mattered but him. I zoomed in, my stomach twisting. His face was sharp, familiar in a way that made my skin prickle. It took me a second, but then it hit me. I knew who he was. Her ex. The same guy she had promised was in the past. The same guy she swore up and down was a mistake, a closed door. But now, here he was, very much in the present. I sat there, gripping my phone, my heartbeat slow and heavy in my chest. I stared at that picture like I was waiting for it to change, like if I blinked enough times, it would turn into something else. But it did not. And that was when something inside me shifted. I did not lose my temper. I did not throw my phone across the room or punch a hole in the wall. That was not me. Instead, I felt cold, like the anger was settling deep in my bones, waiting for the right moment to come out. Laura was not home yet. She had gone out earlier, said she was meeting a friend for dinner. I had not asked which friend because why would I? That was the thing about trust. You do not think to question it until it is already broken. I glanced at the clock. She would be home soon. I took a breath, rubbed my hands together, and ran the scenario in my head. What was I going to say when she walked through that door? Would I lay it all out right then and there? Or would I wait, dig a little deeper, see how much she was willing to lie to my face before I confronted her? I picked up my phone again, stared at the picture one more time. The way she leaned into him, the way his arm was resting just close enough to touch hers. If it had been anyone else, I might have ignored it. But I knew better. I had questions. And tonight, she was going to give me answers. When I heard the front door unlock, I exhaled slowly and turned toward the sound. I saw her reflection in the dark window as she stepped inside, shaking off her coat like it was just another normal night. "Hey," she said, her voice light familiar. She set her purse down on the counter and tossed her keys into the bowl by the sink. I did not say anything. I just watched her. She opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and leaned against the counter as she took a sip. That same easy smile on her face, like she had not just spent her evening laughing with a man she told me she had left behind. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket, glanced at the screen, and I swear, for just a second, I saw her hesitate. She looked up, caught me staring, tilted her head. "What?" she said, laughing a little. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I let that settle in the air for a moment before I spoke. "I could say the same about you." Her smile faltered. "What does that mean?" I reached for my phone, swiped the screen, and held it up so she could see. I did not say a word. She did not need me to. Her face changed instantly. The smile was gone, her body went stiff, and for the briefest moment I saw it, fear. But then it disappeared, replaced with something else. Something harder. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice controlled, steady. "Social media," I said, tossing my phone onto the table. "Crazy how small the world is." She folded her arms over her chest, leaning back against the counter like she was bracing herself. "That is from a couple of weeks ago," she said carefully. "It is not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." She hesitated, just for a second. That was all I needed. "It is nothing," she said, shaking her head like I was the one making this into a big deal. "I ran into him by accident. We had coffee, caught up." "That is it." I took a step closer. "Just coffee." "Yes," she snapped a little too quickly. "You are blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" My voice was calm, too calm. "Because you told me you hadn't been to that place in years. Remember that?" She flinched, just barely. I did not think it mattered. she muttered. It was one time. Harmless. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You did not think it mattered? That is funny, because you lied about it. And people do not lie about things that do not matter. Her face hardened. I did not lie. I just did not tell you. That is the same thing. She pushed past me, walked into the living room, and sat down on the couch, rubbing her temples like she was tired of this conversation. You are making a big deal out of nothing, she muttered. I did not know how to convince you otherwise. I stayed where I was, arms crossed, watching her. She was good. I had to give her that. She knew how to twist things just enough, how to make me second-guess myself. But not this time. I'm not buying it, I said finally. She exhaled, long and slow, before looking at me again. What do you want me to say? The truth. Her fingers twisted in her lap. For the first time, she looked nervous. That was a start, but I was not stopping until I had the whole story. Why him? I asked, my voice steady but laced with something sharp. Of all the people you could have reconnected with, why go back to him? Laura hesitated, like she was weighing her options, trying to pick the right words. But there were no right words. Nothing she could say would undo what had already been done. Because it was easy, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. We have history. He gets me in ways that I do not know. It is not that I wanted him back. It is just... She trailed off, like even she did not fully believe what she was saying. Her words hit like a gut punch. The history she shared with him was supposed to be in the past. And yet, here she was, admitting that some part of her still needed that connection. I exhaled, shaking my head as I tried to process it all. Does he want you back? She stiffened, her fingers clenching slightly at the hem of her sweater. I do not know, she muttered. Maybe, but I told him that was not happening. I told him I am married. I told him I love you. A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. She loved me. That was rich. She loved me, but she had no issue sneaking around behind my back, lying about where she had been, and keeping me in the dark for months. That was not love. That was something else entirely. You didn't love me enough to be honest, I said flatly. That is the real problem here, Laura. She looked like she wanted to argue, like she wanted to reach for some explanation that would smooth this over. But before she could speak, her phone buzzed again. Her reaction was instant. Her eyes flicked to it, her body tensed just for a second. But that second was all I needed. Who is it? I asked, already knowing the answer. It is nothing, she said too quickly, reaching for her phone. I grabbed it before she could. Turned it over. His name was right there on the screen. It was like a neon sign flashing in my face. I did not even need to open the message. The fact that he was texting her this late, after everything, told me everything I needed to know. Without a word, I tossed the phone onto the couch. The sound of it hitting the cushions echoed in the room like a gunshot. Still think it is harmless? She sucked in a shaky breath, her mask of control slipping. Please do not do this, she whispered. Do not turn this into something it is not. I stepped closer, my voice low but steady. It already is. For the first time that night, I saw real fear in her eyes. The cracks were spreading, and she knew it. I was not stopping until I knew the full truth. I did not sleep that night. How could I? Laura had gone upstairs hours ago, slipping under the covers as if nothing had changed, as if she could just sleep this away and wake up to a clean slate in the morning. Meanwhile, I sat downstairs, staring at the shadows stretching across the living room, replaying every word she had said, every excuse, every carefully crafted deflection. She was hiding something. I knew it. By the time the clock hit 3 a.m., I had made up my mind. I needed proof, something solid, something undeniable. If I left it up to her, she would just keep twisting the truth until I started doubting myself. Her phone was still on the couch where I had tossed it. I stared at it, my fingers curling in a fist as I debated what to do. I hated the idea of going through it. That was not who I was. But then again, she was not supposed to be the type to lie to my face either. The line had already been crossed. I picked up the phone. The screen was locked, of course, but I knew her passcode. I wish I did not, but my hands entered it almost automatically. The messages were right there, waiting for me. I tapped on his name, and the conversation opened like Pandora's box. It was not just a few messages. It was an entire thread. A history stretching back for weeks, maybe months. Jokes, shared memories, coffee dates, and then the ones that made my stomach drop. I miss talking to you like this. Today reminded me of how easy things used to be. I cannot wait to see you again. I scrolled further. Photos. Nothing explicit, but intimate in a way that made my skin crawl. The view from some cafe window I had never seen. A picture of her, smiling at the camera, looking happier than she had in months. The kind of pictures you send to someone when you want them to remember you. I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles ached. This was not innocent. This was not just coffee. And the worst part? She had made me feel like I was the problem. Like I was the one being unreasonable. I needed to confront her right now, but I knew she would just twist it again, try to downplay everything, make me feel crazy for seeing the truth that was right in front of me. Not this time. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to my own phone, then deleted the evidence from hers. If she thought she could still control the narrative, she was in for a rude awakening. The house was silent when I crept upstairs. I stopped in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her sleep in the dim glow of the bedside lamp. Her breathing was slow, steady, peaceful, like she had not just spent the past few months lying to my face. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling. How had we gotten here? I used to believe we were happy. Not perfect, but happy. I thought we were working through things together. But now, I realized I'd been living in a version of our marriage she had carefully curated for me. I was done playing along. I must have drifted off at some point, because when I woke up, sunlight was streaming through the curtains, and I could hear the soft clinking of dishes downstairs. She was up, humming softly, like today was just another day. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the screenshots, and stared at them one last time before heading downstairs. Laura was standing at the stove, flipping pancakes, a cup of coffee in her hand. When she saw me, she smiled. "Morning," she said lightly, like nothing had changed. I did not say a word. I walked over to the table, placed my phone down, and tapped the screen to bring up the first screenshot. "Read it," I said. Her smile faded instantly. Her hand trembled as she reached for the phone, but I snatched it away before she could touch it. "Do not bother deleting anything," I said coldly. "I have copies of everything." She took a step back, her back hitting the counter. "I can explain," she said, her voice cracking. "Of course you can," I said, sarcasm dripping from every word. "You always have an explanation, don't you?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I did not move. I was not falling for the performance. "Let's start with the truth, Laura," I said, leaning in slightly. "And do not you dare tell me this was just coffee." She opened her mouth, but for the first time, she had no words. I could see it in her eyes. She was caught, and now, she was scrambling to figure out how to lie her way out of it. "It was never meant to be like this," she said, her voice barely holding together. "I was not trying to hurt you. I felt empty. I needed to feel something, anything that was not this numbness I've been stuck in." Her words hit like a hammer, not because they were unexpected, but because they held a sliver of truth. Things between us had not been perfect. I had noticed the distance, the slow drift, but I believed we could work through it. I believed in us. What I did not believe in was looking outside our marriage for answers. I placed the phone back on the table, harder than necessary. "So tell me, Lisa, what happened after all these coffee dates? And do not lie. I have had enough of that." She opened her mouth, then closed it, her mind scrambling to find the safest version of the truth. "I never slept with him," she said finally, her voice small. "I swear on everything. I would not do that to you." "Then why hide it?" I shot back. "If it was so innocent, why keep it a secret?" Her shoulders sagged under the weight of her own lies. "Because I knew you would not understand. You would see it as betrayal, even if it was not." "Because it is betrayal," I snapped. "You do not get to rewrite what that word means just because you did not sleep with him. You built a whole secret world behind my back. You lied. You let him believe there was something more. And now, you expect me to just take your word for it, that it never went beyond a few coffee dates." Her tears came fast, but I did not move. She was not the victim here. "You have to believe me," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I made a mistake, but I stopped it before it went too far." I folded my arms, studying her like she was a stranger I had just met. "Why now?" I asked, my voice low. Why stop it now? She hesitated. That pause told me everything. You didn't stop it, I said, my tone as sharp as glass. You just got caught. Her breath hitched. Her hands trembled. She was about to speak, but the words did not come. Instead, she covered her face with her hands, breaking down right in front of me. I did not move. I let her sit with it. The weight of her choices. The weight of us crumbling. How far did it go, Lisa? My voice was quiet but firm. No more careful wording. No more leaving out details. I want the whole damn truth. She lowered her hands, her eyes red, her face streaked with tears. We kissed, she admitted, her voice so soft I almost did not hear it. I did not flinch. When? She swallowed hard. Last week. The words knocked the air from my lungs. Last week, when she told me she had a late meeting. When I sat at home, reheating leftovers, thinking about what movie we could watch when she got back. Did you plan it? My voice was flat. No, she said quickly. It just happened. I ended it right after. I told him we could not do this anymore. I scoffed. Convenient. It is the truth, she pleaded. I know I hurt you, but I swear that is as far as it went. I let out a dry, bitter laugh. And I am supposed to feel better about that? She did not answer. I turned away, rubbing my hands down my face, trying to ground myself. Some part of me wanted to believe her. To believe that this was a terrible lapse in judgment, that she caught herself before it spiraled. But the other part of me, the part that had spent the last few days uncovering lie after lie, knew better. I need air, I muttered, grabbing my jacket. Please do not go, she begged, her voice desperate. We can fix this. I can fix this. I did not respond. I just walked out the door. The morning air was crisp, biting at my skin as I walked with no direction. The streets were quiet, only a few early risers out with their dogs or getting their morning jog in. The normalcy of it all felt surreal. How could the world feel so steady when mine had just caved in? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. The hesitation in her voice, the panic when she realized she had been caught. And the texts. His texts. She admitted to the kiss, but I knew there was more. People do not tell the whole truth the first time. They give you enough to satisfy your anger, hoping you will not dig deeper. But I was digging. I found myself at the park, the same one we used to go to when things were good. The place where we once sat, dreaming about the future. Now it just felt like a graveyard for memories. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the screenshots again. I needed to see it with fresh eyes. And that was when I saw it. Last week felt like old times. I cannot stop thinking about it. I will wait for your decision. It was from him. Sent the same night as the so-called one-time mistake. My pulse pounded in my ears. Decision? Lisa had said she ended things after the kiss. But this said otherwise. If she had really shut it down, why was he waiting for an answer? Because she had left the door open. I turned on my heel and headed home. Moving fast, my mind sharper than before. The anger was there, sure, but it was controlled now. Focused. I knew what I was walking into. When I stepped inside, she was still sitting at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a coffee mug like it was the only thing keeping her together. She looked up when she saw me, surprised. You came back, she said softly. I ignored the attempt at vulnerability. I walked straight to the table, placed my phone down, and tapped the screen to show her the message. Explain this. Her face drained of color. She stared at the message like it was some foreign language she could not decipher. But I knew better. She understood it perfectly. It is not what you think, she said, but there was no conviction in her voice. Stop saying that, I snapped. You keep saying that like it is some magic phrase that erases what I'm seeing with my own eyes. What decision was he waiting for? She gripped the table, her knuckles turning white. He wanted me to leave you, she admitted. He said if I was not happy, we could start over. I exhaled sharply, barely keeping my hands from shaking. And what did you say? I told him no, she whispered. I told him I was staying with you. Then why did he think you needed time? She looked away. I do not know. I slammed my fist against the table, making her jump. Try again. Her lips trembled. I did not tell him no right away. And there it was. You thought about it, I said, my voice eerily calm. Tears spilled down her cheeks, and she nodded. For a second, yes. I was confused. I cut her off. You considered leaving me. That is all I needed to know. It was never real, she sobbed. I chose you. I chose us. I leaned forward, looking her dead in the eye. You did not choose me, I said coldly. You only chose me because I found out. She broke then, completely. Her sobs filled the room, her shoulders shaking with the weight of it all. But I did not feel sorry for her. I had nothing left to give. Lisa had made her choice. And now, it was time for me to make mine. Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw what real guilt looked like. But guilt wasn't enough. It didn't undo the messages, the stolen moments, or the weight of knowing I hadn't been the only man occupying space in her heart. It didn't change the fact that she had chosen to let someone else in, even if it never went as far as she claimed. I turned away, heading up the stairs, needing space to think. As I reached the top, I heard her whisper something, but I didn't ask her to repeat it. I didn't care. Not right now. Because the truth was, I wasn't sure if I would ever believe her again. I spent the rest of the day in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling as if it held answers I couldn't find on my own. The weight of her confession pressed down on me, relentless, suffocating. I kept going back to every little detail, every unexplained late night, every casual mention of him I had never thought twice about. I replayed conversations, moments, tiny shifts in her behavior that had once seemed meaningless but now felt like cracks leading to this exact moment. The betrayal wasn't just in the kiss. It was in every message she sent, every moment she shared, every second she had spent pretending that nothing was wrong. And now, all those lies had piled up into something so big, I wasn't sure I could ever climb out from under it. By evening, I heard her footsteps approach the bedroom door. A hesitant knock. Can we talk? Her voice was small, fragile. I didn't answer, but after a moment, the door creaked open anyway, and she stepped inside. Her face was pale, eyes swollen, cheeks blotchy from hours of crying. She looked wrecked, like a woman who knew she had just burned her own world to the ground. She sat down on the floor, pulling her knees to her chest. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the low hum of the heater kicking on. And then, finally, she broke the silence. I know I destroyed everything, she whispered. But I'm begging you, please, let me fix it. You can't fix this, I said, my voice flat. You can't just patch it up and pretend the cracks aren't there. That's not how trust works. She wiped at her face, her hands unsteady. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll block him, change my number, quit my job if I have to. Just tell me what you need. I let the words settle, studying her. She was desperate, but was it for me, or just for the life she was about to lose? You lied to me for months, I said finally, my voice low but steady. And now you expect me to believe you're suddenly going to tell the truth? I'm telling the truth, she insisted, voice breaking. I'll prove it. I swear. I shook my head, the weight of her words pressing down on me. Now you'll prove it? Now that you have no choice? What if I had never seen that photo? Would we still be having this conversation? Or would you still be sneaking around behind my back? Her face twisted in pain. No, I was going to end it. I cut her off, my patience snapping. Do not lie to me again, Julia. You didn't end it. I did. And if I hadn't, who knows how long you would have let it drag on. Her whole body shook with quiet sobs, but I didn't feel anything. Not anger, not pity, just exhaustion. And then, as if fate wanted to twist the knife a little deeper, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. We both froze. Her eyes darted to it, and in that split second, I saw something flash across her face. Panic. She moved fast, reaching for the phone, but I was faster. I snatched it up, my hand steady, even as my heart pounded like a drum in my chest. I turned the screen toward her. It was him. I know you were scared, but we do not have to hide anymore. Just say the word, and I will be there. A chill ran through me. I slowly lifted my gaze to hers. You told him it was over, I said, voice quiet but razor sharp. That's what you said, right? She gasped like she had been punched in the gut. I didn't reply. I swear I. But you didn't block him either, I shot back. He still thinks you're considering it. He still believes you might leave me. And do you know why, Julia? Because you never told him to stop. She let out a strangled sob and sank to the floor, curling in on herself. I watched her crumble, waiting for something, anything, to break through the numbness inside me. But there was nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just a dull, aching emptiness. I stood up, pacing the room, trying to untangle the mess of thoughts racing through my head. I could walk away right now. I had every reason to. But a nagging part of me wanted to understand. Not just the cheating, but why. Why keep him around? What did he give her that I didn't? I stopped pacing and sat back down, my voice calm but firm. Tell me the truth, Julia. Why him? Why didn't you block him after you told me it was over? She sniffled, wiping her face with shaky hands. I don't know, she whispered. I was scared. I kept thinking, what if things between us didn't get better? What if you woke up one day and realized you didn't want me anymore? He was my safety net. He made me feel wanted, and I was selfish enough to keep him there just in case. Her confession felt like a knife in my ribs. This wasn't just about love or lust. It was about security, about fear. She hadn't chosen him over me, but she had kept him there as an escape hatch. So, you were waiting for me to fail, I said bitterly. You had a backup plan in case I wasn't enough for you. She shook her head, sobbing. No, it wasn't like that. I love you. I never stopped loving you. I exhaled sharply, rubbing a hand down my face. You didn't choose me, I said finally. You chose to wait. And when I found out, you only ran back because the choice was made for you. She reached for me, but I stepped back. I need space, I said, my voice void of emotion. Her face twisted with panic. Where are you going? Out. She scrambled to her feet. Please, don't leave me. Do not follow me, I said and walked out the door. The night air hit my face as I stepped outside, but it did nothing to clear the storm raging inside me. I walked without a destination, my feet moving on their own, my mind circling the same question over and over. Could I ever trust her again? She had opened the door to her past, and now it was up to me to decide whether I would slam it shut for good.